Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast.
Hello, Archie.
Hello, Steph.
Hello. Look at you looking smart in your little blazer.
Yes, well, we're coming up on, that time of the season when the season is almost over and I'm getting, melancholy. So I'm dressing up now.
I wasn't sure if it was the holidays or if it was just smart Archie or this was a special episode, perhaps.
It is a special episode, as you and I both know. A special episode of what? Of Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast.
Yes.
Today's star date, I'm not going to forget it this week. Today's star date is stardate 31211.8, and we are discussing Season 3, Episode 9 of Star Trek Discovery, entitled Terra Firma, Part 1.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a doozy.
It is a doozy. This is you said this when we were preparing our episode notes. You're like, this is the episode we've been waiting for.
Yeah, this is like the fulcrum, the crucible, the whatchamacallit. What do you call it?
I think you got it with Crucible, to be honest.
This is Chekhov's gun. You know what I mean? Do I know what I mean? Anyway, the point is, it's crazy. Things get crazy now.
Should we run it? Oh, sorry.
We should run it down because otherwise
so
I'm
much
just
to
going
run
to start
down.
getting into my thing. Yeah. It's time to run it down.
Can you run it down for me? What just happened? Can you run it down for me?
Boom.
Boom. Okay. We're going to get through this. It's a part 1, so as we discussed last week, you're just going to hold your breath for 7 days. Too bad. If you want answers, you're not going to get them. Explicitly, I think we are told we're not getting answers in this episode. Okay, so it begins with Hugh Culber and everyone's favorite mysterious, black-clad, bespectacled somebody whom I call Glasses, played by David Cronenberg. And they're discussing Georgiou's condition. And apparently, the reason Georgiou's been sick is because not only has her body moved forward in time, but also it has moved spatially from one galaxy to another. And thus, your cells apparently like to be where they are. And so Glasses gives Culber a sort of rundown of the whole temporal wars business and how people were moving back and forth in time and yada, yada, yada. And that also the mirror universe is moving further from our universe. And so Georgiou's more and more out of place and out of sync. And her body is tearing herself apart. And there's nothing that can be done. Or is there? Because Discovery has a creepy computer that's alive. So Culber's like, hey, computer, is it true the only thing we can do is sedate her and wait for her to die? And the computer's like, oh, no, you can send her to this place. And even Glasses is like, say what? Meanwhile, Georgiou is in the mess hall and she's trying to lift up a glass of wine and her body is like out of phase with it or something and it's causing a whole issue and people are watching. And Tilly tries to pull one of her Tilly things and like she's, I kind of thought this was going to happen. Like Tilly was going to be like, hey, if you need help, we can help you. I'm Tilly. I talk to Andorians. I talk to the captain. But Georgiou just throws food in her in her face.
It was like a soup thing, and it just goes everywhere.
She was like, "Yeah, my hands work fine," and she like slapped the food onto Tilly's clothes. Michael intercedes and is like, "Hey, Culber wants to talk to you. We gotta go." So what we find out is basically this: the computer, which has all that sphere data from before times, and also has been updated with all the information from after Discovery jumped in its retrofit, has been able to pinpoint a planet called Danis 5, apparently the 5th planet in the Danis system, where if they go with Georgiou, then maybe there's a place on the planet where she can get better. The chances of her getting better are 5%. but it's basically 0% if they do nothing. So it's a very, very slim chance. So Michael, Saru, Culper, they go down to visit Vance and they talk to him about it. Apparently the Emerald Chain, whom we met in the last episode.
Chain.
Excuse me, yes, the Emerald Chain that we met in the last episode are doing some sort of military exercises. So the whole fleet is on yellow alert. But Vance sort of sees that this is an important thing for Discovery to do for cohesion. So he agrees to the mission. He says, you guys jump out there and get back to me when you get back to me. And Saru actually is the one who seems to be the most reluctant to do it. And Vance has some words for him about how your crew will trust you more if you take care of even one sick person on it. So it's not always the needs of the many and the needs of the few, which I think is kind of an interesting idea that they're doing a reversal of now. But we can get into that later. So meanwhile, let's see. So Michael has to go and convince Georgiou to do this. So everyone else is pulling for Georgiou to heal. Georgiou, basically, because she's Terran, wants to die in battle gloriously. So Michael goes to a gym to talk to Georgiou, and Georgiou's like, oh no, I'm not going down to the planet. I want to kill you. And then they have an actual fight in the gym, but Michael refuses to fight her. And Georgiou's like, you're going to kill me or I'm going to kill you. And Michael says no. And then Georgiou's like, oh yeah, well then you're going to die. And then she swings her sword around, but Michael doesn't move. And Georgiou stops the blade just short of her neck. And she basically is like, you're so stubborn, but fine, I'll go. And then we have the credits. Okay? So they jump to Danis 5. There's some interesting goodbyes with Saru and Tilly, where Saru's like, well, I guess I learned as much from you as I did from the other Georgiou. And Tilly's like, you've been good for me, I guess, in a weird way. And they Saru shakes Georgiou's hand. Pointedly, Tilly gives her a big Tilly hug. Tilly time. And they go down to the planet, Georgiou and Michael. It's a snowy, barren wasteland. And they start to walk to the coordinates they need to head to. In the meantime, there's a B plot in this episode. It's scant. Is that Adira and Stamets are working still on the encryption, on the algorithm, trying to encrypt that weird signal that's coming out of that nebula that was music that turned into a distress call. That means that it has an embedded encrypted message in it, and they have to work on the algorithm for it. And so they're trying to work on that. And Stamets helps Adira. Adira's been working on it all night, and so they are all screwed up, and they can't. I think they forgot to do. I forget what it was. Reset a buffer before putting it through the dingle dangle. And so Stamets is like, we just got to do that. And Adira is still upset about Gray. I guess it's been a few weeks that Gray has disappeared, and we don't know why that has happened. And while they are discussing that, information comes through. It's been solved. It's a video message. Say what?
What?
And then they both look at it and go, what? And Stamets says, you better go get Saru. Saru, at that moment, is in the corridor with the one and only love of everyone's life, Book. And,
Do you want to take a minute?
Why not? Hi, I'm Book, and I'd like to be important to Discovery's crew. I just want to hang out and help you, man. I know a lot of information from other couriers. If you compare it to the information you have from Starfleet, you'll find out it supports your intel. So what can I do? Oh, yeah. Okay, we can cut it.
That's where I got it.
Yeah, that's good. I was going to say, we don't need to... so Book is talking to Saru, and he wants to sort of be involved. And unfortunately, Saru's like, you had to sort of wait your turn. We need you'll have a moment to prove yourself. We had the same thing when we arrived here, and I'm sure that you will, but thank you for the information. And so I guess that's the C plot line, and that is the only moment of it, is that Book is trying to integrate with the Federation. Meanwhile, down on the planet, Georgiou and Michael are talking, and Georgiou basically and Michael kind of hash it out about their relationship, because they're both there because of a love for someone who is not actually alive. Georgiou had to kill Michael, or Michael was killed in the mirror universe, and Michael is responsible for her Georgiou in the Prime universe dying because she started the Klingon War, but they still feel the same feelings for these. Anyway, it's complicated and weird, and Georgiou basically says, I found you in my universe on top of a trash heap, and I picked you. And Michael's like, why did you pick me? And she goes, well, because everyone, when I showed up, all the urchins came with their hands out pleading for salvation, and there was Michael on top of the trash heap. She didn't move. She was, quote, prepared to be her own salvation. Dun, 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 dun.
Do you want one?
Well, we don't have to. Hey, all right. Okay, I'll keep talking. So they get to the coordinates that they've been told to go to by the Sphere Disco AI computer machine person, and a very strange thing happens. There's a man there sitting in an armchair next to a door that leads to nowhere, smoking a cigar and reading the newspaper. When they ask him what his name is, he says, my name is Carl. And he basically has a newspaper, and the newspaper says that Georgiou, the Terran emperor, dies a painful and awful death. And whenever they try to ask him questions about the door, or how he got there, or who he is, or what's going on here, he answers in weird puns or riddles or vague language. It's very strange and weird.
He has some good jokes.
You liked the
liked his
jokes? Because
jokes. Yeah, I
I
did.
felt like I was super into them, but I was like, this is the kind of jokes that like get me kicked out of parties.
Well, yeah, but that's why you and I get kicked out of parties.
That's right. That's right.
That's why we
started
created our own party.
our own party. Yes. Okay. Well, he has some great jokes. It's worth watching just for the slapstick there. Carl. Yes, indeed. Carl. I love that. My name's Carl. But basically, he says that like the answer to Georgiou's ills could be through that door. But the answer follows the question. A lot of weird, sort of cryptic information. But he says the answers are on this newspaper here in black and white, and it says that Georgiou is dead. And Georgiou says, well, if it has the answers, I'm still alive. So how correct could that be? And then he looks at his little pocket watch and he goes, well, this is tomorrow's paper. Meanwhile, on Disco, the distress call video that they found is from a Kelpian by the name of Dr. Issa on the KSF Kiev. And basically they were on a mission, I guess, for the Federation to explore this dilithium nursery that was inside the nebula, but they got stranded or something like that, and they had called for help, and help was supposed to come in 2 days, and it hasn't shown up in 6 weeks, and that's when they start the distress signal. And I guess they've been there since the burn, which means they've been there for about 100 years. But if they're getting the distress signal, Saru reasons, then the ship must still be intact. And Stamets says they have the codes to be able to see what's going on inside the ship, so they'll go off to do that. And Saru says they'll hold off on notifying Vance because everyone's dealing with the Emerald Chain until they have more information. And that, my friends, is the end of the B plot line. Because back down on Danis, 5, Georgiou screws her courage to the sticking place, and she steps through the door. And her hair changes and her clothing changes, and she becomes the Terran Emperor once again.
I think that's Mirror
as such,
Aki.
Mirror Aki shall rear his ugly head once more. No bow tie.
If you are listening from home and you are listening to this as a podcast,
right.
Aki likes to switch his selves, if you like, from when he goes from Prime Universe to Mirror Universe.
That's right.
And he switches from his bow tie to a t-shirt.
A t-shirt. I'm casual, man. I'm casual because I'm a Terran. What's up? Yeah, this is what podcasts are like in the Terran universe. Nerds are cool, evil cool, wearing t-shirt. Okay, we don't need to. That's the concept. So now I'm in a t-shirt and I feel weirdly cold. So the Emperor shows up. She is greeted by Tilly and her honor guard, and they do the super fascist salute, and they shout, Terra Firma, Terra Firma, which of course we all know is the Latin for solid earth, solid ground.
Of course, we all knew that. I mean,
I'm only
I
wearing a
took
t-shirt,
Latin.
so everyone knows that. I'm just a regular average Joe. I don't do
regular
these kinds of
average
things.
t-shirt wearing Joe.
I'm
who
a
speaks
t-shirt wearing
Latin.
Joe who knows a common phrase that people use every day
Fair.
from Latin. He sips his coffee. Okay, so Georgiou is wearing a medical bracelet that she got from Dr. Culver, so she has to hide that first and foremost. But then she basically is trying to get up to speed as to what is happening. But Tilly has invited her because Tilly, as you may recall, Captain Killy in the Terran universe, and now we're dealing all in evil mirror universe people. Is the captain of the Discovery, and they picked up the Emperor from Earth because that is the day that they christened the new Imperial flagship, the pronunciation of which Steph and I have never agreed upon.
Well, I feel like this time they said it decisively.
And I disagreed with it. I know, it's fine. So they called
Karen.
They called it the Karen. So Charon, Karen.
Karen.
As in the Greek demigod who boats you across the river Styx into the lands of death.
Because we all know that also because we
because
we all
wear
Latin.
t-shirts. I play sports ball, and yes, we all do stuff.
Sports ball.
Yeah, all the time. I get lots of points. I get all the goals.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because you play all of the balls with sports. The sports with balls.
I'm a regular sportsman. I'm just a wild.
You're a regular baller.
Baller. That's me. Hashtag baller. Anyway, yeah. Karen, the Greek demigod who boats you across the river Styx into the land.
The irony, it's Karen, as in, Karen.
Karen, as it's
which
become,
we now know
yes.
in our urban dialect. Mm-hmm. It's to be not a good thing.
True. Karen is
I
also
want to see your manager.
Pluto's only moon. Where was I? I was bawling. That's right. Anyway, that's the day that they christened the Karen. And so it is also the day that apparently Lorca and Michael staged their coup against Georgiou in the mirror universe. So Georgiou gets up to speed on that. She is being welcomed by evil Tilly, whom we'll call Killy. And she's basically like, I know that there's a plot. And Tilly says, I don't know what you're talking about. And she's, I know. And then Tilly's like, I was going to tell you when we got to someplace more quiet. But yeah, Lorca's definitely plotting against you. And Georgiou is now thinking she can maybe rewrite history because last time she lost Michael. So she tells Tilly, in fact, that her plan is to kill Lorca and then bring Michael back into the fold. Tilly does say, this is high treason we're talking about, and the penalty for high treason is pretty explicit. It's death. And Georgiou's like, it's going to be this way because I'm going to change what happens. So she is escorted to a wild party in the rec room of the Discovery, in which we see
shots.
Yeah, they're doing shots, throwing knives at each other. The Kelpians are slaves again. It's a real stark. You know what I did like? And I know we're trying to get through the rundown fast, but very smart suit for the Doctor. The red with the did you notice that?
I didn't actually.
Culver, yeah, everyone has the same black sort of thing, but Culver, the red, it's very snappy. Anyway,
I mean, it makes sense if you're a doctor and you're wearing a red suit.
Yeah, so you can see the
in
blood.
TNG, I remember their surgeons were red. Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Wait, so you can't see the blood? You think you'd want to be able to see the blood?
I mean, for washing purposes, if you're doing your own laundry.
That way you're like, is this clean? I don't know. I don't see any blood on it. This'll do.
Cool. Why not?
Cool. It smells clean. So they go to this party and everyone salutes Georgiou, and then out comes Michael, evil Mirror Michael, whom we've never met. We've never met Mirror Michael. And Mirror Michael swaggers into the room and is like, oh, hello, mother. And that was great.
So much tude.
So much tude. She's serving so much. I'm getting attitude from Mirror Michael. So they sit down, they're drinking, the party resumes, and it's been 6 months apparently since Michael and Georgiou last saw each other. And Michael went to a planet that Georgiou had mentioned to her has this wonderful family of artists. It was a weird moment because the Emperor's like, oh, there's a wonderful planet. There's some great art there. This family of artists, they make indescribable art. And Michael says, oh, yes, it was lovely. And it's going to become even more valuable now that I've blinded and removed the hands of the family. And Georgiou's like, oh, I forgot how thorough you are. And Michael says, I'm happy when you're happy. At that moment, a Kelpian spills some sauce on, hey, Landry's back for a moment. Evil Landry, anyway. And Landry's like, I'm going to turn you into soup, you stupid Kelpian. And then orders the Kelpian to go get butchered. And the Kelpian that helps the other one off the floor is Mirror Saru. And that Kelpian looks like it's going through the Vaharai, which is why it's kind of like off its axis. And then Saru comes over to Michael and Georgiou and tries to offer some wine, and Michael flips out. She says all Kelpians should be killed, smacks the wine out of his hand, and says she's going to have him killed and have his ganglia sweetened for dessert. It must be really fun to write the Mirror episode dialogue for this show. Oh, boy.
I just love the little touches they'd made with the ship. You know, when
Yes.
when you went into the galley, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, the curtains that they had, everything just it really added to it.
It added to the sense of tyranny, of fascism. Yeah, it was great. Thrones everywhere, big chairs and big lounge chairs and everything.
Yep.
Anyway, Georgiou intervenes because she recognizes Saru, and she takes Saru as her own servant. And then when they're behind closed doors, she realizes, Saru, you're a servant. You probably know why Michael is trying to betray me, because I guess we find out that Georgiou never really understood why her Michael betrayed her with Lorca. And that Saru basically says, well, that Michael and Lorca think that something has changed in the Emperor, and that she has become weak, and Michael cannot love a weak person, because you can't love weakness in the Terran Empire. Dun, dun, dun.
Cindy just commented, I never noticed clothes, only that people aren't naked. That is brilliant.
That is at the very least. But, I think of it as noticing how people aren't naked. I take it just one step further. Also, I don't know that I have fashion sense at all. I just thought it was stood out. It's a very smart red suit with the gold-plated Imperial armor. I don't know. Is that just me? Could be.
Probably.
All right.
I mean, I didn't notice the red, to be honest, but there were so many other visual things that I was looking at.
Yeah, well, it's we don't have to get into this. It's a very grayscale and glittery, like gold and black and gray scape in the Terran universe. And then there's this pop of red. Anyway.
Yeah.
So they are going now to, I guess the ship is traveling to the shipyards to get the Karen. And as Georgiou is leaving and heading out to the loading bay, she runs across Michael, and they're watching a big fight happening between Reese and Oeshikun. And Reese is fighting Owo in order to become the new head of security on the Karen. Because that's how things happen in the Terran universe, I guess. You just fight to the death. And Michael and Georgiou take a wager, and Georgiou bets on Owo because she says Reese just wants it for the prestige, and Owo fights because of loyalty and service to the throne. And Owo does turn the tables, but then the fight/murder is interrupted, saved by the bell, because she was about to punch his face in. By them arriving at it was blood. It was a bloody hate. It's the Terran universe. What can I say? Knives all over the place.
Red suits would have been good for them.
Maybe that's why he's wearing the red suits, because there's so much blood. That makes sense. You're right. Just everywhere, not only in sickbay. So they go. There's a very strange, surreal, almost musical sequence in which Stamets gives us, evil Stamets recites a poem about the history of the Empire and the Emperor, and there's a dancer playing her and dance killing Klingons and stuff, and then they reveal through the viewports the Karen, which, as we remember, is run by a mycelial reactor, a big red bulbous sun on top of which sits a floating spaceship castle. It's an absurd ship that I would definitely live in. And then Georgiou gets up to address the crowd, and while she's talking, Stamets, who's making eye contact with Michael, these are all evil. I'm just dropping the evils here. Evil Stamets looks at evil Michael. Mirror. Excuse me. You're right. It's subjective morals. Mirror Stamets looks. I hate saying mirror. That's why. Mirror Stamets looks at Mirror Michael, and he sneaks over to behind Georgiou, and he has a concealed dagger, like Macbeth.
A concealed
to the
weapon.
sticking place. Yes, is this a knife I see before me? Like all cool sports ball people quote whenever they see a dagger, and he tries to stab Georgiou. But she sees it coming because she's been here before. Spoiler alert! And so she stabs Stamets to death immediately, and he just falls to the ground,
like
bleeding
right in
out.
there.
Yeah, right in the necky blah, blah, blah
Jugular?
part. Probably down. It looked like a long dagger. I would guess it went straight through the meat down into the pierced the heart. Probably because there's a
Sure.
big. There's an aerial shot of him later with just like a huge pool of blood coming out of him. So some sort of arterial. Why are we talking about this? So
I don't know. I think we started down the whole evil mirror route, and we've
mirror. We started down the mirror route.
I don't know how I'm going to do a sound effect for that. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Mirror.
Mirror. Oh, okay.
Like that? We
Cool.
could do that.
All right. Cool. I'll give you.
This is why everyone needs to listen to the
Here we
podcast.
go.
We do
Yes, all
fun
right.
things in post-production.
Yeah, that's right. I'll give you one. Here's a pickup for mirror. Mirror. And you can just use that wherever
Thank
you want.
you.
Just fly
Thank
that
you.
wherever you need.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how the sausage is made. So Georgiou resumes her throne. They start the chant once again of Terra Firma. Michael slips away, I think probably to get away because their assassination attempt failed, but she is stopped by none other than Mirror Tilly, and who holds a gun on her. And then Georgiou shows up with Owo and the whole royal guard, and they're like, oh, you tried to get away, we know you're behind the whole thing. And Michael's like, whatever, you're weak and you can't control things. And Georgiou's like, oh, I should kill you, but I'll spare your life if you confess and tell me why you did it. And Michael goes, confess, you're so weak, I'll tell you why I did it. The reason that I like Lorca, because you say you took me out of a trash heap, but I was the king, or I was the emperor. I was in control. I was the arbiter of that trash heap, and now I'm just I think she literally describes herself as a reflection. She's nothing. She's nothing but a reflection of Georgiou that can't stand on her own, and that Lorca loves her and honors her for her own self, for her own power, and that is why they have decided to betray Emperor Georgiou. And then she gets down on her knees and says, so go ahead and kill me, because I'd rather die. And Georgiou takes out her blade once again, mirroring her actions that happened right before the credits sequence. The credits, that's right, I said it right before the credit. You guys don't know there's a Quidditch sequence earlier on in this? Right before the credits sequence, she removes the sword ceremonially. She takes the side stance. She swings it back to remove Michael's head, but this time, again, stopping just short of killing, but this time cutting. There's a little bit of blood. She just nicks the skin. But she says, I know how this ends if I kill you. Either you die or I die. But now we're finally at a place where we don't know what the outcome is, so I will let you live. And together we can, some kind of weird maniacal thing she says, together we will see what happens.
It was so curious because I kind of thought there's a rock and a hard place. She kills
Yeah.
her and she maintains the respect that her crew has for her.
Yeah.
Or she doesn't kill her and then she's seen as weak and then there will be another plot against her.
Right. But I think she knows that if she tries to kill her and does, then what happened before will happen again. Now she's trying to write some new history there. She thinks that we don't really know. I should get to the end before we get into all this craziness.
Okay.
Anyway, she's like, take her to the agonizers and to be continued. That's all we get. So that's the show. So yes, I think Georgiou, I mean, we don't know, but we think Georgiou thinks she's actually back in time. Like she's getting a redo. But we have no idea what that door was. Did she really go back in time? She's like, what's happening?
Don't know.
Yeah. Well, but you had the
Well,
answers.
save that to tinfoil time. Oh, Sky, this is a typical match for Aki. It's mustard and mustard. He loves it.
Oh, yeah. Mustard and mustard. Well, these are the only glasses I have left. They are glued together on one side. And this is the only hat I own. So it's a look.
When this whole pandemic is over, I would love to take you shopping.
For new glasses and hats?
Yeah.
Hats and
like
glasses?
I just want to expand your existing collection of nerdy clothes.
What are you talking about? I do stuff.
I
Sorry.
Just because you're wearing a t-shirt now.
I am wearing it. Don't forget. I'm looking very avuncular and sporty in my t-shirt right now. Those of you listening later, you have no idea.
This is Jock Aki.
You can probably hear it in my voice, this raw animal confidence that is being exuded from my current attire. All right, time to get into some weird theories.
Woo!
I forgot to send you this, so I'm going to
You
play it again.
did not give me tinfoil time.
Here we go.
Killing me.
This is tinfoil time. Okay, so we said we would discuss theories. I have to, of course, put my major theory first because it deserves to be shot down, but it's the one I love. And that is that Lorca is responsible for everything. That's my theory.
I mean, it's funny because we were talking about this last week and I was like, oh, stop. That's so far-fetched. Mm-hmm. Don't be so ridiculous. And now it's like, oh, we're now talking about Lorca again.
It's feasible. It's possible also that Isaacs is not coming back and there'll be no Lorca angle here.
Yeah. It's difficult because I'm kind of looking at it from two angles going, is Jason Isaacs coming back versus could Lorca have done it without Jason Isaacs coming back?
True. The thing is that, as I've discussed many times on this program, and I stand by this, he fell into the mycelial reactor, which we think means he died, but you could fall into that and end up in any place at any time. You can evade death, as Dr. Culber did. And that last fortune cookie that they find at the beginning of season 2, when Pike is in the ready room for the first time before he changes it, is that fortune cookie that says something like death is not the end and I will be back, basically, is what that fortune cookie says. And now here we are, the day of the betrayal. We've seen Mirror Michael. Georgiou has decided to keep her alive. The assassination attempt has failed.
You were going to do James Mason, weren't you?
Yeah, accidentally. It just came out like that. I wasn't trying to, but just like James Mason, yeah. The assassination attempt failed, and so maybe Lorca is going to dun-dun-dun, Lorca, you know? And he'll be like, yeah. Ooh, I like this guy.
Spin-off. Michael and Lorca, one night stand, made for TV rom-com. I don't know if it's made for TV rom-com. I feel like it would be R-rated.
Yeah, at least TV MA. I mean, if we really want to do this.
And Cindy, haven't we had enough of Lorca? Amen. We had a whole season of him.
Yes, Lorca is terrible, but I mean, we all love Isaacs, right? No one's going to be mad about seeing old Malfoy up there with his dark hair and his brooding eyes and his rustic Texan yeehaw.
I mean,
right?
He made things interesting. I will say that.
For an episode or two here. Well, maybe just for the end of this episode, he shows up and he has to be killed again or something. Not that he's, well, I guess in my tinfoil time thing, he's like, ha 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 ha, I created the burn, which we don't necessarily need to have happen. Do you have any crazy theories?
None so crazy as yours, my friend.
Okay,
Which
well,
I feel is regular for tinfoil time.
That's probably true. That's what I do all week. I just speculate until the next episode. I do think, I'm curious to know, I know that this is not part of the main thing, but in our B plot line, there's something strange going on with Saru, right? He, like, as soon as they leave the office, he replays that video by Dr. Isa. That is like the Kelpian that he's seen. I'm curious, and it was curious for him not to want to update Vance. So I just don't know what's going on there.
Do you think there was some sort of secret message or something that he saw?
I don't know if it was a secret message or something that he saw, or if it's hitting close to home for him because he thought he had left all these Kelpians behind, and this is the first Kelpian he's seeing. You know, but we'll see. I guess I'm assuming the next, well, we don't know. The next time we go back to that plot line, because I assume next episode we'll be wrapping up this Terra Firma business, we'll get to see, like, what happens with Saru and whether or not anyone survived that crash. What is Sky asking?
Sky's asking, what about that backward time travel theory you discussed? That's a weird one.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I discussed time travel theory with with multiple parties on a regular basis. I'm trying to remember the one I had specifically with Sky.
So like multiple universe discussions.
Yeah, well, it is a question of, and I know I'm not wearing a bow tie, so I'll say this with my muscular hunky gravitas. It is a question of like, are we talking about multiverse theory here, or is, time something that can be shifted and changed? If there's a temporal war, then I would argue it's not a question of multiverses and infinite possibilities, and therefore going back starts a new branch of a certain timeline, but rather that timelines can be preserved and shifted and altered and repaired and so on and so forth. So it's only going to get weirder and stranger, and a lot of butterfly effects and weird things like that I think are going to happen. Plus, with this mycelial network business, people coming back from the dead, we don't know what's going on with Greytall and Adira, and, all I can say is Lorca. That's all I can say.
That's all you got. That's just what you underlined on your notes tonight.
Twice.
Lorca.
I did also make the other note that I wrote down that I thought was important, is that I love that the name of this episode is Terra Firma, Part 1. And they chant Terra Firma, which is a great thing for like fascist Earth people to do. Terra Firma, like strong Earth, right? But also, this entire episode is about the lack of terra firma. It's about being cast adrift without direction. Everyone is directionless. These discoveries lead people into a place of the unknown without sure footing. So once again, the namers of these episodes have done it. Those clever so-and-sos to make us think about why they called it what they called it.
All of these part 1s and part 3s and...
Well, this one, yeah. The part 3, yeah, you're right. There have been a lot of, like, throwbacks. First of all, that Hope Is You part 1, still I wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat trying to figure out what's going on there. And Unification part 3 is, like, only if you know about Unification parts 1 and 2. And then
which we do.
Which we do because,
Our
newsflash...
Netflix watch party last
Yeah,
week.
last
We
week.
watched them all together.
I forgot how much was involved there in the whole... I mean, I remember Spock being involved, but I forgot that it was 2 episodes and that there was this whole Tasha Yar, Romulan almost mirror version of Tasha Yar, because that Romulan Yar is also created because of a time rift deal thing, as I recall. That's why she's fully grown.
I don't recall that in the end.
I believe she is to use the D&D term, the big bad of the end of season 5 or 4. At the end of season 4 of Star Trek The Next Generation. Which one was the Locutus season? These are important things to discuss. Was that 3 or 4?
This feels like a sort of Star Trek Trivial Pursuit. I feel like that was later on. I want to say 5. Maybe
Locutus was 5? No.
6? Can't have been that early.
I don't think it could have been that. I don't think it could have been that late. I don't think it could have been 6. So
Should we? Do you know what? Let's do it, shall we?
You can Google it if you...
You can Google that.
Yeah. So, while you Google that, I'll just say...
Yep, I had a new sound effect.
That's great.
Series 3, episode 26. You are correct, my friend.
The end of season 3. Okay, so the end of season 4, I believe, is the Tasha return, and that someone likes your uplighting.
Someone likes my uplighting. We were discussing this, and Aki was like, "What's uplighting?" And I was like,
Yeah,
"That's
I don't know.
fucking
Look
uplighting."
at my house. I have light, and that's it. I don't know how to make uplighting. It's just books back there. There's no plugs.
Cindy, you were on it. End of season 3 to season 4.
You. Yes.
So
Okay,
I'm glad someone knows their shit.
Yes,
glad someone knows their Star Trek.
Well,
so I can edit that.
That's right. No, thank you, Cindy. So what I'm saying is, I think that the Tasha was. It's an interesting. Like meta overlay that they referenced unification, and the unification thing did center around Tasha's involvement in the Romulans trying to thwart unification, because the Romulan Tasha is created because Tasha Yar goes back in time in an alternate timeline and therefore has a child that is half Romulan that looks exactly like her. I'm pretty sure that's how the Romulan Tasha is created. It's a stretch because I think they just wanted to bring her back to the show after she left after season 1. So they're like, how about we make you a big bad?
There's some weird writing going in there.
There
to make
might
that
have been. It
happen.
might have been the mirror universe. I should Google it, but I don't like to. I don't like too much information when I'm doing my tinfoil thing. I like to just guess. Oh
I
yeah.
like to make it up.
I like to make it up. I like to make it up. Okay, we can move on for this.
Let's do that.
Quotable
dear.
moments, shall we?
Yes, let's do some quotable
Quotable
moments.
moments.
Have you got any? I have one that I loved in particular. That's a particular quote.
I didn't find too many in this. It wasn't anything that really stood out to me. So why don't you go?
Well, there were a few just as runners up. There were just some nice things like Georgiou saying, "God, Michael, you have to know when to shut up," and various other one-liners like, "We'll turn your make your ganglia sweetened for dessert." Other terrible things that Terrans say that are just fun one-liners. But I really liked what Vance says to Saru in that first meeting when Saru is sort of like, "I don't know if we should do this whole thing to rescue Georgiou when we have the Emerald Chain to worry about." And he says, "I never listened to advice when I was green, but take it from an old salt who's made a lot of bad calls in his day. A crew member is drowning. If we let her, then your crew will never look at you or the Federation the same way again, and you will never look at yourself the same way either." Now there's captain lessons. Because it's always like the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one. But in this case, in this instance, saving Georgiou is not just about saving Georgiou. It's about the morale and the respect and the loyalty and the family of the crew. Even though everyone, as we saw when they said goodbye, hates. I mean, Georgiou's antagonistic to nearly everyone, to basically everyone, even Michael, to whom she is the nicest. She tried to kill in this episode. So there's still a sense of family there. And so that's why I thought it was an interesting thing for a captain to have to think about, is that like, for this one person, I need to move heaven and earth because otherwise the crew couldn't trust me. Good lines from Vance. I couldn't agree more, Cindy. And that's my quotable moment.
No, I didn't have a quotable moment, but there was like when Tilly was saying goodbye, or Prime Tilly was saying goodbye to Mirror Georgiou.
Yes.
There was a hug that I was really into, because it was like Georgiou, you could kind of tell she was like, "What are you doing?" And then, "Oh,
Yeah.
all right,
Well,
I might like this a little bit."
Yeah, in the next time on the throw forward to the next episode, we hear Georgiou in a voiceover talking to, we think, Mirror Michael, and saying like, "I've seen what you can be. I've seen how the universe can be, and it is, quote, luminous." I didn't even write that down. I just remembered it because it sounded so good. So it sounds like she's taken something of this timeline and is bringing it back to the Terran timeline. I don't know. I don't want to go crazy. Than I am.
Indeed, my friend.
Indeed.
Indeed.
All right, let's wrap this thing up because I'm a maniac.
Oh yeah. Alrighty.
Next time on Set Phasers.
Yes, well, next time on Set Phasers, we will be covering the continuation of this TBC, to be continued episode. We will be covering Terra Firma, Part 2. I have that confirmed. They will give us a Part 2. This is not going to be one of those weird things where they move on without us.
Huzzah!
So, huzzah! We shall get answers, maybe? Find out who Carl is? What's his deal? Okay, so thank you very much for joining us. If you enjoy the program, you can catch us every Friday, like it is today, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook Live, or as a podcast every Monday, wherever you get podcasts from.
Thank you so much for joining us live. It's so fun to see your comments come in, and we can respond to them and have fun with you guys chatting Trek as we do. We are on Facebook and Instagram, of course, at Set Phasers Podcast, so feel free to follow along and join in the conversation of all things Trek with us.
And if you want to support our continuing mission to discover whatever Discovery has in store for us, and we don't know what it's going to be, we would be delighted. You can patronize us, we can take it, by going to patreon.com/setphasers.
Well, until next time, I'm Steph Mans.
And I'm Aki Burmese, and this has been Set Phasers, a highly illogical mirror Star Trek podcast.
Computer. Oops. Computer. End program.